All right, we're recording. Cool. So part two of making an Ethereum setup for Eliza. So we have to before. Let's just recap really quick. We exposed the. We wrote a function. We tested this function here. That function will take a string and it will output the first public key that or public address that is not the agent's. And okay, cool, great. Why would we use that? Because we want to see what the user, if the user has given us their address, we're going to store that address if we don't already have it. If we do already have it, we can check for it. If they want to say, I changed my address, we could probably evaluate that in a slightly more complicated kind of, maybe that requires GPT-3 or something. But we just need to know that they gave us an address that's not ours. That's the most key first place to start. So we have that function here. Inside, great. And we wrote a test for it, and we put the test here. But we will probably want to. I should really make a new folder and call this code notes, because it would be really helpful to have. We'll say code snippets. It really helps to have these kind of worker notes here, and we'll call this one extract Ethereum address, or extract ETH add from speaker. Cool. Okay. And this is the actual function that does the extraction. It's very basic. And now, let's see, where do we want to go from here? Oh yeah. Well, in the entity manager, we exposed two values, which probably got to refresh. We have them over here. Two values: OpenAI key. We had that Ethereum private key and Ethereum public address. And we modeled these after the OpenAI key. We just needed to add some more, so we copied and pasted that, added them to the database, added them to the model, added them to the REST API. Now we're good to go. We need to expose these now to the agent, right? So we already have these exposed, right? Channel type and all these. Well, where's room info coming from? I want that, right? Wherever room info is being provided, we probably also want to provide this other information. So wrong project. Room info. Room info is a type on the agent. It has some compelling things that we can also destructure. I wonder if we want to store. No, I think we're just gonna do it. All right, we'll just do it. We'll do it for now, and then maybe we'll refactor this later because it's a little ugly, for sure. Address. Not gonna lie, it's definitely ugly. It's interesting because it returns channel type. I'll copy these. I'll need them in a second. Input return. Cool. So input return, right? It's type. Really? I think it just doesn't like them because they're all camel case. That's hilarious. Well, ignore, what is it? I think I'll just do the automatic one. Disable it. Let's do it for the whole file. Okay, great. So now we're definitely typed. We also want to output here, right? Output is a task type for the task. So other types, don't worry about it. Copy and paste. Keep it simple. Now these are outputs, and you can see that they receive room info is a room info is an array socket output, and we're just going to do string sockets. So we're just going to say const Ethereum private key. new read output, Ethereum private key, string socket, and you're gonna want to be on 2 lines. Ugh, so ugly. Maybe we can F private key, right? That's what we want. But on the task, it's probably going to want to know. Key title. Yeah, we probably need it to be that, and then we'll call this private key and public address, because this should be second value should be the one, the title. Okay, I feel better about that. Then we're going to have to add some outputs. Dot add output private key address, and same deal. Do all these. Private key address. Functionality, and then we can go back and make it nice. If this doesn't exist, well, no, it's going to return null anyway, I guess. I was thinking maybe I'll give it a thing, but that seems fine. Input restructure. We'll have to do the same thing. Fonts, private. Can we just get that from here? Yellow me until I do that. Fine. Input restructure is basically the same, just does the opposite. So these will be inputs. We'll add an input. Turn. Right, it returns 1 output. And for now, it'll be like that. Kind of ugly, but fine. Spell handler. Okay, so the spell handler function, one thing that I don't like about this is that it seems to be taking just like a long property list that is not structured. We can refactor this. It's kind of ugly. It's grown so much that it's kind of hard to use. How many times are we using it?
Is this what the API uses? Because I think this is similar to what I'm seeing, where I get errors.
Yes.
So it's missing data, I bet.
Potentially. It could be that it's missing data, but no, I don't think so, because this is getting called by the API. Let's trace it. So this spell handler is created, and it has a long list of inputs that it takes to set it up, and then from there it creates an agent that with spell inputs. So if well, I'm gonna have to add that Ethereum wallet stuff right there and right there. But just to answer your question really quickly, put this in context. This spell handler is created and then it's returned. The whole function is returned, right? And the idea is that you're going to be calling this thing over and over and over. It's not a great pattern, especially since we want to queue and swap graphs. But it works now. So we're returning the spell handler elsewhere, probably wherever whoever's calling this, create spell handler. And that gets called all over entity, right? And we're creating them for, if you're creating an entity, you'd be like, oh, cool, you're starting Twitter. Okay, well, let's start the spell handler for Twitter. And let's also start the automatic spell handler if you have one of those as well. You're doing Discord. Okay, here's your Discord spell handler. So on and so forth, all the way down, right? The actual spell handler function, you can see it just takes like some properties, and then that all gets collected, blah blah blah, and passed down into this function right here, spell handler. This is all good, but this kind of sucks, right? Like, long unstructured property lists are not great, or arguments lists. It should be an object probably, and we should do it like that. But I don't really want to refactor it right now, and that's going to cause other bugs. So we'll leave it like that. Now that gets called in a bunch of places, or returned to a bunch of places, and one of those places will be the HTTP endpoint. But that's actually over here. If you look in packages, server, source, root, spells, so basically in the server, in the source code of the server, there is a roots folder, and in the roots there is a spells root, and that's going to cover all of the stuff you're looking for. What you're looking for specifically is this one, /spells/spell/version. And if we see that, when you post to it, it calls run spell handler. Now, I was thinking that you should be able to not post to it and just make a call to see it. Like, you should be able to do /game/spells, and you should be able to see all the spells, and that might actually help you debug your API, and then from there see how you access your spells. But this function right here is what you're looking for, /spells/actual/spell/version. So the version you're looking for is latest. Just use latest.
I'm getting through. It's just it's the
inputs.
Yeah, the inputs are all.
So you have to post, right, for sure.
Or the outputs, actually, it's the outputs are broken for one of the things. Anyway, I don't want to derail, but I'm gonna keep digging and let you know.
Yeah. So anyway, I will go through this just really quickly though, because it is interesting. When you hit that REST endpoint, and so what's cool is if you're using Unity or Unreal, or you just want a helper agent or like a chat widget, whatever your other interface is, most of those interfaces could be solved just with basic HTTP calls to this. Send it out, get a response. And so that's going to call this run spell handler. This is going to go down, get the actual spell, find the spell based on the version. If it doesn't exist, it'll return an error and tell you that there was no spell with that name and version found. That might be the error you're having right now. I don't know. Otherwise, it's going to go all the way down the graph. It's going to build the graph and the interface, populate the input keys, and then it's going to collect the outputs by calling this run spell. So run spell is the thing that does all the magic. We can look at that.
This is where it's failing for me.
Cool. And so you'll be able to see in the logs, because we still have a lot of console logs in here, run spell, and it should show you the inputs that it's receiving. It's going to set up all the modules. Then it prepares some objects that it populates later, like this raw outputs. It reads the outputs into the module. A module is a graph, because you can have submodules. The module is like the JSON object that's going to run through the spell. And there's some documentation here that can give you some more help there. You build a context of the module as well as the Thoth interface, which is like the functions it can call to talk to Reet, which is the graph like the actual graph engine. You process the graph, which prepares it to be ready to run. Then you get the module trigger in. Let me find a trigger in. You should always have one trigger in, and then you're going to run it. That's going to start wherever your first trigger is, start the trigger execution. Then it's going to run through all of the values and find any values that include output.
Yeah. So this is undefined. That's my error. Is that node.name.includes is undefined.
Node.name.includes is undefined. So that means that name is undefined.
Yeah.
Did you name your output node? Maybe that's the problem. So how do we? Yes, this is a good troubleshoot. If you have to name your output node because for some reason it's failing because maybe we had some bad whatever, click on your output here. We have output here, and just check that it has an output name there.
Okay.
That would be my first guess. Okay. Great. So the spell handler that runs all the spells. That covered that. Winding back, and that's how this whole thing actually runs, both in Discord, in REST API, all that stuff. What we need to do is we need to provide that entity data to the different to the spell handler so that when it starts up, it can provide it to the agent, right? So we're gonna go back to room info, and in our create spell handler, you'll see we have here. So now this is where we need to add because this is gonna take this spell handler right here gets called by a bunch of things, right? That like when the entity starts up, it's gonna have to run this a bunch of times, or set up this parent function to return this is what I mean. So let's just make sure. Let's see. Create spell handler. Takes spell inversion. Does all the things. It doesn't actually know anything about the entity. Great. So we will add Ethereum private key. Ethereum public address. And then the spell inputs are going to be the same. That's all we gotta do there. Now, room info is not provided by everything. It seems to only be provided and implemented right now here. It was implemented in the last game engine I built, but we removed that. So it's only implemented in Discord right now. We'll have to fix this in the other places it's mentioned. But that's all good. So I guess we'll have to make sure, even though room info is only in Discord, we'll have to go through and make sure the other instances, because we're just searching by room info, are also covered, like in Twitter and stuff. But we can focus on Discord and this case, the server case for now. So we had an error because we didn't do everything yet, obviously. You can see when I call create Discord client, it returns a spell handler, and the spell handler, or it passes a spell handler, which currently is a little confused. What's the error? Argument of type does not match because we changed the type, and now it's expecting this other type of object, and it does not exist. Okay, that's because it's failing down here. So, well, it's probably failing at 2 places. This is our loop handler. This can handle the loop spell. And we're going to need to get our Ethereum private key and put it in here, probably. You can see there's a lot of instances of it. Okay, so we have to get that data that we have out of the database. Let's see. Let's start with start Discord. That's kind of our main focus for a second. And you can see it's returning data. So when we construct a new entity, we're constructing it with data. We'll say class entity. And that's getting called in world. So, okay. We have a world. The world calls tick on the entities, and it also listens for new entities or entities that were deleted, and then kills the agent that's associated with them. So there's an agent that's like spins up, it serves some requests. An agent is a technical term for a basically anything that moves something from point A to point B, right? But in terms of network theory, the idea is that the agent is doing something on your behalf. That's kind of like one of the key things, right? In this case, it's starting up a Discord bot and running the graph and all this stuff. So we're instantiating a new entity. We call them entities. The entity is actually the data that's in here, right? And that then gets reflected in this data object here, which then becomes persistent and runs. And if this one dies, another server could say, oh, well, that one's not being run anywhere. I'll spin it up myself. So I don't know if we have it in here right now, and we should make sure that we do add this back as another feature. But entities can be claimed. So if you have like multiple servers that are looking at the same database, they could pull them off the queue, claim them, run them. You only have one instance of each. And then if they don't check in for a while, they can, say, okay, well, that entity has died. It hasn't been on for 5 minutes, so it's probably dead. I don't think we have that in here now, or if we do, we haven't touched it in a while, but I do want to get back to that. So we have this entity. It takes this object. When you call add entity, you'll see that for any new entities that it finds in the database of get entities, call new entity, create a new entity, pass in the data from that entity. So since we already put this data in the database, the entity already is carrying it through with our data object. So when we construct this entity here, construct the entity, and you see that there's data coming in. Well, we actually have access to all these different things here through this data object. And so, same deal, right? This is a pretty terrible way to structure a function. You should probably never have a function that calls this many things. It's prone to a lot of bugs. But that's how it was done. And we'll have to refactor this later, because right now we're just going to add something to it, right? And specifically, we have two functions or two pieces of data that we definitely can add. I think that we'll probably want to start the loop, and we'll want to have we're definitely going to want to have the loop have the Ethereum private key at some point. So we'll say Ethereum private key and data.ethereum public address. Cool. And we definitely want to do that in Discord. And we want to do that in Twitter. And everyone else can wait. Everyone else can wait. If you want to add Telegram, it's right here. We can totally add Telegram, no problem. But we'll do that later. It'll just take too long. Okay, so start loop. Boom, add those. Ethereum private key. Got expected 10, but got 8. Boom, spell handler is now satisfied, right? It's not assignable to parameter type string. Let's make sure that's right. Message is loop. Speaker is loop. Agent is agent name. Great. Client is loop. Channel ID is loop. We probably need to fix that. Well, I guess it's just the general loop. String. Entity is this. Private key. Public key. Room info. Oh, okay. I see. Right. So this is why these things suck, because they have a very specific order, and if they're not in that order, it fails. That looks right. Okay. We'll just look for all instances of spell handler. This is Instagram. I don't want to deal with Instagram, but it does exist. spell handler settings, identity, spell handler settings, identity. If it's easy, we'll just do it. I mean, that seems pretty easy, right? Just need to do settings dot and private key. Oh, right. Doesn't even care. It's not properties. Instagram client. New Instagram client. Did it work? No value exists. Is it data dot? Well, where did you come from? I see. Terrible. It's absolutely terrible. But whatever. So that's a repeatable process. We got Slack, we got Zoom, we got Telegram. We'll go to this later. We'll just focus on these. Did the Instagram case. We'll do the loop case really quick. We did the loop case. Great. Discord case. We'll add those right there. Great. Discord client. Pop those to the bottom. And after all of that, do we need it here in the client? Probably, I guess. Input. Right, because this input handler is going to be the Discord function, I believe. It's kind of messy. This dot handle input equals that. I'm going to have to say this dot Ethereum equals that. Whoever hacks this is going to be, it's going to be epic. Ethereum private key, public address, it's all set there. Input handler. Oh, it's a handle input, sorry. Handle input. Great Discord client. Doesn't need to be in the handler, but it does. Need to be here. We'll put it here though, right in the spell handler. Ethereum private key. Address. Okay. So the spell handler got injected. That already had it all set up. We passed it over here. Now we just got to call this handle input, and this is a terrible name for it. In that, well, I mean, it's a fine name, but it's different than spell handler. And I think that what is intended is that the exact same, so we will just rename that to spell handler. And I think that will be more right. Cool. Create spell handler. Maybe it's not keyed right. Create Discord client. It's not keyed right. We'll put them here. And that fixes the error. Very confusing. This is all going to need some refactor. But basically I added it to the spell handler. We've done that before. It should pass all the way through now and then be available when we create the Discord client. Let's see, make sure that they're the last ones here. Such a crazy thing. Yeah, so when we create the Discord client that they're provided, you see we have Ethereum private key. This should be this .ethereum private key, I believe. And we should be good to go. I think this is the only call of spell handler. Yep, okay. So that's the Discord agent, all good. The last thing we want to do is make sure that we do hit the HTTP properly, because we also, that's what's going to be used on the front end as well. And that's how we will test it, right? So, routes, entities, custom message. We'll just say what is it? Message, speaker, agent, client, it's Discord, entity, that seems wrong. We'll just throw a new error on this. Not implemented well. Okay, so if that actually gets called, that's all bad. But I don't think it will. And then the last thing we want to do, this is in the entity routes, but I don't think we're calling custom message here. What are we calling it? Handle custom input. Fascinating. I don't think we're calling it anymore. I think this is a vestige of an old project. Cool. So inside of that, handle input. Handle input takes all this stuff. And we need that to get the things we need, right? Okay, cool. So this is our execute handler. I assume, let's just make sure that this is, no, this is creating a web thing. What else are we using this? Got handle input there. I don't think that's it though. I don't think it's web. I think it's preview. Oh no, it's playtest. We can check. let's just check what it says when we send. Just calling the graph, right? So let's just see what we call in the graph we were talking about before. Spells, spell version, run spell handler. Yeah, I mean, this is the one we want, obviously. So this is going to get all of the data, where the name is the spell, but we need to populate it. So where are we grabbing the entity data and pushing it in? I know where we're doing it from Discord. We already did it from Discord, right? But context request body. Are we using that anywhere else? Yes. That's in the safe handler. And the run handler. Spell version. Where are the inputs? Yeah, but where are the inputs? I guess it's just taking the whole context into build path interface. Okay. I don't even see it using it though. Okay. So we provide the context and it just kind of sits and lives. We provide the graph and the input keys that it fills and the modules, and then we call run spell. Run spell is going to do the actual lifting. Input keys. Still don't really understand how it's extracting that from the graph. Is it already populating the graph? No way. Yeah, it just finds it, loads it. Context. Somewhere in here, it's gotta be. Okay. Process the graph with the context. I think if we just provide the JSON object, it's just gonna go. I don't think there's any deep typing in here. So I suspect that, like, we might just be ready. Like, let's just see what happens and where we fail. I'm not even really sure where we fail. Probably we just fail to start up. Gotta fix a couple bugs, but we're almost there. Then we have a private key. We have the ability to extract the private key. Then all you gotta do is think about how we utilize that as in the agent. You know, the easy part. How does an agent use a private key? Cool. Let's go check our input. Well, there's a private key and a public address. All right, cool. That's interesting. What happens if there's none? I guess just nothing. But how do I check? We need the playtest to be able to push in something, right? If I put this input in here, these all have kind of default values. They default to if they're null. So I don't know if that's really a way to test it. I think we kind of just have to test it with an agent. So, okay, we can do that. Let's see. New spell. Key tester. Where else could we test this? Well, if we posted it to the API, we could also test it. If we post to the API, we can get a response back and then verify all this is working.
I can give you my snippet because I made a component for an input that sends to the API.
Yeah.
Want to use
that? Sure.
Both benefit from it also. It's in the voice chat.
Yeah, let's grab that. Where do you put this?
So that it's just a basic JavaScript function to return a chatbot. Oh wait, sorry, I didn't send you the whole thing. My bad. Yeah. This. So there's a return on that.
Function chat box. Should I just put it in like a HTML page?
Yeah, it should work.
Okay.
It's pretty vanilla JavaScript. The only the only dependency is Axios.
That's fine. I wonder if we just kind of cool just to put it like in the agent.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be really helpful. I'm thinking about this. I also wonder, like, we'll have to look into it if we're posting this way. Anyway, I think what I'll do is I'll just make another HTML page, and we'll just serve it. Does that make sense? Probably.
Yeah, it should work the same. I mean, I'm literally just using HTML page with it.
Test.html. HTML. Script. Function, chat box. Does it create its own thing?
I guess I need to call the function.
Returns the messages, labels. This looks like a, what's it called though? This is a React thing. Okay, I gotta put this in React. Never mind. I'll put it into,
yeah, you could just throw it in the entity.
that seems to make sense. Entity window. Entity management window. Down. We already got Axios going.
Oh, perfect.
Blah, 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 blah. Where's our good stuff? Enabled. Voice enabled. there. Function chat box. And then speaker agent channel private Ethereum private key Ethereum address. Awesome. Got those solid. We can delete all dems. Cool. There's our function. Chat box can now go here, right? Chat box takes a bunch of props, which are already pre-populated, I believe. That's going to be really helpful, actually. I don't know how it's going to return. What do we? Let's think about this.
So it returns the message gets appended to, if you look at the state of set message. So your message will get appended, and then its message will get appended in response after the Axios returns. So it's Axios post, then response, set message.
Spell handler.
That's for mine, yeah. So you might want to define your spell handler. And then I guess you should just always use latest.
Spell handler. Yeah, we're gonna use latest for now. Discord spell handler incoming is what we'll use.
Now that's gonna have spaces.
We'll see if that works. If it doesn't work,
yeah, try it. Why not? Yeah, I remember digging through the Discord stuff, and I was trying to find a reference that was in like the URL format. Everything has spaces.
so I added the spell handler. Let me just cool. We go to chat box and make sure spell handler equals that. That's gonna be such a mess, so we'll do a little bit of this. Look at that. A lot of props.
Yeah, actually,
Looks
let's
nice.
do an example project too, so people have a good starting place.
Cool. Well, we'll probably just stick this in here too.
Yeah, that's probably the best example.
If it works, error rendering component, of course. Never works the first time. Error occurred. Client is not defined. Oh my god, is it Discord client? I don't think it is Discord client. I think it's just Discord, right? Like,
Client's a number, right? Or it's supposed to be a number.
I'm not sure, but we're just gonna call it playtest or entity window. Good enough. What other errors we got? Next error. Channel ID is not defined. Oh yeah, of course not. Channel ID. Any window. Channel. Let's see. Okay. Entity is not defined. Well.
Entity is the one that's a number. Not client.
Chatbox. Does entity need to be? I guess it does. But we'll get the ID from this. Okay, that's fine. Of course. That's probably just a code thing.
This is probably why mine is failing. I'm probably giving it bad data.
ID. Refresh. Console. Speaker is not defined. I mean, obviously. Speaker. And I'm going to assume agent is not defined either. Well, there should be an agent name. Yeah, there is an agent here. Oh, that's another thing, obviously. We want our Discord agent name, right? I don't think it matters. We don't actually have an agent name yet.
Yeah, you can just do a default value. I think that's fine because it's just a test area, isn't it?
Yeah. Just because. Okay. Yeah, that's a bad idea. Ethereum private key is not defined. Didn't we do that? F private key. Of course. Should probably make sure that's uniform. We'll just do agent, it's fine. For this, every instance of Ethereum private key should probably be F private key. And every instance of Ethereum public address should be F public address. Okay, that's valid state. But we also need to make sure that in here, yeah, that's right. Okay, good. Now we have this.
Hey. Welcome to the room.
That's a little odd.
Its position is absolute for the div.
Okay, well, we need to fix that.
Yeah, just search for absolute. Yeah.
I think we need.
Probably get rid of most of that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it would be
I mean, it doesn't seem to respond much to CSS anyway, but at least it sits there. And we can't. Okay, let's see. Ethereum private key is not populated. Does Eliza have one?
I don't think you saved it. I think that's your problem.
It's right there. It's just not showing. Eth private key, eth public address. Eth private key, default value, eth public address. Let's just close saved. Close saved. Make sure we're not missing anything. Not sure. It's all good there. Try to refresh it. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. Entities. Okay, it did set. Now, if I refresh this, of course, it is quite empty though. But maybe that's because we call set open AI key somewhere else and we're not calling it. Yep, that would be why.
Yeah.
So we need to set eth private key and set eth public address. And there it is. Cool. Let's pop in the real deal. Got a private key there. We got a public key there. Save spell. Now I've got a way to test it maybe, hopefully. Let's see.
So that's the 500 error I'm getting.
Okie dokie. 500. Let's view the payload. It's all good stuff. Looks right to me. $204 no content, and that's let's see what it said in the backend. What was your error?
Node gives you some errors.
Yes, it does. Well, there's your problem.
That's exactly what I'm seeing.
There's a problem right there.
What's that?
Cannot evaluate property of undefined.
There's the one. Yeah, code.
53. Okay, so we're just gonna say console.log processing code for let's try it.
Actually, so glad to see this is validated, not just me.
Yep.
Something in my head in the future.
Expected 16 arguments, but got 18. Start Twitter.
So we are not registering something, huh?
No, that's kind of my fault. This is just we're just gonna ignore Twitter for now. Sorry, Twitter, you don't get a wallet. Let's just start it over real quick.
So you got passwords.
Okay, tips were a bad idea for the for the screencast, but all right, good enough. Let's restart it.
And I don't know how long your output history is, but I had to set mine to like 10,000 so that I could find some of those ones.
I think I've set mine to really long in the
like
past.
Cool, because it vomits out all the prompts.
I know, we really need to clear out the logs. It'd be a lot easier to debug. Okay. Test. Same internal server error, of course. And doesn't include. Now, input. Sorry, I had an AI related error. Okay, that's
yeah. I get a bunch of those.
Success was false.
You can scroll up like super ton because it's going to be a bit till you get to the top, and you can see when it throws the running.
It's an unauthorized. Yeah, but this is the errors right here actually. I don't see a bearer token on here. URL data. Do you have a bearer? Bearer false. Okay, so it doesn't have a bearer token.
Does it have a default bearer for the client, or?
Well, that's actually the OpenAI key. Is the bearer
Okay,
token.
that's what I thought. I was like, this doesn't make sense how it's coming from my.
Right. So where is it trying to get that data? Yeah, it really wants to repeat this stuff over and over. It goes, doesn't it? Processing code for server. And then these are all the things that we posted out. Quite a lot of things.
The code looks right. That is valid code.
Yeah, that's all good. It's definitely in the GPT-3 call.
Oh, and that's why output and all of that mess doesn't get found, because that just won't. I see.
Yeah, because then output's null. Is this my new one? I don't know if it is. I don't think it'll work. I think that's the old one. I have to go get an API key. Create an API key, copy it, paste it. Do we need to pass the API key to the character?
That's what I couldn't figure out, and I just don't see a good reason to just, like, I don't see any logic that actually uses the API key.
Oh. Well, where's the API key being set? Well,
oh, that's a good fucking question. Yeah.
I have a theory. I know exactly where the API key is being set. It's being set in the process environment variables because it's running off the server. It's not an entity. It's not populated. This does have to come from our .env here. So this is where we put in our OpenAI API key. Yeah.
No way. Oh, I'm gonna trip.
I'm sure that's something like that. Yeah. If that works, then hey, we've cracked it. We've got HTTP calls out. You're on your very way.
Yeah. I need to see environment is. You said it's in the server environment variables, or which
Yes, because it's the request that's being served by the server is the one
one? Right.
that we're looking for.
And I guess you have to rebuild after that.
Yeah. Okay, doing the rebuild. Server's running. Everything's good to go. Let's see. There's never a moment of truth in programming. Ooh, well, we got a crash. We didn't get a crash before. Res is object. Hey, yo. I think. No,
Response.
no, that's an entity.
No.
That's the wrong res. Let's check the network. Let's see if we actually sent it off nicely. Of course, didn't record it.
You
Let's try
should be
it.
able to see in the node output as well if it was successful.
Yes. That is true. I think it was. Welcome to the room. $200 okay. Payload, response, outputs. That's great. I'm sure you're excited to try it out. Is there anything else I can help you with? Yo, look at that. Look at that. That is exactly your thing. All right, so we found a...
Run it.
All right. Cool. So now we have a running graph. We have all the things provided. Oh, okay. Now we can test our Ethereum wallet. I'm going to pause this video. I'm going to make a new video after taking a 5-minute break to drink some coffee and recharge on this. This is like an epic marathon session. And then we'll finish the wallet, get it in, verify that she has the private and public keys first. Then we need to add a node for Morales, and then we'll or whatever our API is, and then we can check our wallet contents, and then we have everything we need. We probably won't get to the brain tonight, but if I could get Morales API key node and exposed private and public keys for the entity, we've done it. We did the thing, and the rest is just a brain.